You know, it's a huge question. What do we teach our kids about how to live? Turns out, sometimes the answers are hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to crack open a textbook and see what we can find. All right, so here it is. This is a Siri Kannada language textbook. It's for 10-year-olds in Karnataka, a state in India. And get this, it's not a history book or a social studies book. It's their main language textbook. But, as you're about to see, it's packing in lessons that go way beyond just words.
So that brings us to the big question for this whole thing. What is really being taught here? I mean, beyond grammar and spelling, what are the moral lessons, the social lessons? What idea of a good life is being handed down to these kids? Okay, first up, we've got this really fascinating little play. It's called A School for a Parrot, and it dives right into a super personal lesson, a lesson about freedom and what it actually means to learn something.
So the play kicks off with this young parrot just hanging out in a royal garden, being a parrot. It's totally free, happy, chirping away to its family. Come on, the fruit's great over here. This is just its natural, wild self.
And then the king shows up, and he does not see a happy wild bird. Nope, he sees a problem. He looks at this parrot, which is literally just doing its thing, and he's like, this bird is uncivilized and illiterate. Basically, it's not following his rules.
The title of the play in Kannada is Panjara Shale, which literally means the cage school. And I mean, that pretty much sums it up, right? The king is so offended by this parrot's natural behavior that he orders it to be caught, thrown in a cage, and formally educated.
So right away, you've got this huge clash of worldviews. On one side, there's the parrot's world, all about freedom, nature, instinct. And on the other side, you've got the king's world, which is all about order, civility, and using force to get them. The story just puts them head to head.
And here's the kicker. The king brings in all these scholars to teach the parrot, but the bird just gets weaker and weaker in its cage. The message for these 10-year-olds is so powerful. You can't have real learning, real growth without freedom. You just can't force it into a cage.
So we've just seen this really personal lesson about the individual. Now, the textbook kind of zooms out. The next story is called The Shop That Was a World, and it shifts our focus from your own personal freedom to the stuff that holds a whole community together.
This one's about a village shop, and it's run by a woman named Malaji. But this place is way more than just a shop. It's everything. It's the village bank, the post office, even the courthouse, and the local news channel, all rolled into one. It's basically the heart of the whole community. And the whole thing runs on a single, simple idea: trust. The narrator tells us how Malaji will give sweets to kids who don't have any money, or she'll give loans to adults who are struggling. She doesn't ask for any guarantees or anything. She just trusts them to pay her back when they're able. It's this beautiful lesson in what holds a society together.
And this line just perfectly captures the feel of the place. After explaining everything the shop does, the narrator says this: it's not just a shop, it's a magic world. And why is it magic? Because of the kindness and trust that are just baked into its DNA.
Okay, so we've gone from the self to the community. And now the textbook zooms out one more time, this time to the whole nation. This next part introduces kids to the idea of patriotism, but it does it by telling the stories of two totally different kinds of heroes.
The whole point here is that a nation isn't just, a shape on a map or a government. It's a story. And for these fifth graders, they're learning the story of India by learning about the people who fought to protect it.
And what's so interesting is that the textbook doesn't just give them one kind of hero to look up to. Nope. On one hand, you've got General G.G. Bawar, a modern, highly decorated army chief. And on the other, you have Sangali Rayana, a warrior from the 18th century who's now a total folk legend. We're talking two completely different ways to be a hero. So let's start with General Bawar. He's what you might call the official, state-approved hero, right? He was the 9th chief of the Indian Army, a major player in the 1971 war, and he got the Padma Bhushan, which is one of India's highest honors. He's the very picture of modern official leadership.
But the book doesn't just rattle off his resume. It tells this amazing story about him. When he went back to visit his home village, the local officials set up this fancy decorated jeep with armed guards and everything, but Bawar just waved it away. He said, "I'm a soldier. Why do I need protection? These are my people." What a lesson for these kids, right? That real leadership is also about being humble and staying connected to where you came from.
All right, now let's switch gears to Sangali Rayana. He is a totally different kind of hero. This was a warrior way back in the 18th century who fought the British East India Company using guerrilla warfare. So he wasn't the head of some official army, he was the leader of a rebellion. And his story, for the most part, wasn't written down in textbooks. It was passed down through generations in these amazing folk songs called Lavani.
And that contrast is the whole point. By putting these two guys next to each other, the textbook is teaching a really smart lesson, that being brave and loving your country doesn't just look one way. You can be a hero as a top general in the National Army, and you can be a hero as a village warrior leading a rebellion from the ground up. Both count. Both are worth honoring.
So, let's try to pull this all together. We've looked at 3 really different stories, and each one is teaching a lesson on a totally different scale. So, what does it all mean when you put it together?
What you're seeing is a moral roadmap being built, step by step. It starts small, with the individual. The parrot story is all about personal freedom. Then it widens out to the community. Malaji's shop teaches about trust and looking out for each other. And finally, it goes all the way to the national level. The 2 heroes show that sacrifice for your country can take many forms. It's like these expanding circles of what it means to be a good person.
So you go from this little fable about a parrot, to a story about a village shop, to the histories of national heroes, and you realize this isn't just a random mix of stories. No way. This is a deliberate curriculum for building an entire worldview. It's teaching these kids a framework for how to think about themselves, their community, and their nation.
And that really leaves us with one last big thought. A textbook like this is such a powerful reminder that the stories we tell our kids are never just stories. They're not neutral. They're actually blueprints for the future we're trying to build. And it kind of makes you stop and ask, doesn't it? What are the stories we're telling, and what kind of world are we building with them?